So how important is laughter to you in life and in your coaching?
I mean, I think it is the root of so much. I think we underestimate how powerful it is. I think as humans, especially adults, we do take ourselves too seriously, as I said earlier. And I think being able to find either the funny side of something that hasn't worked out, or purposefully going out to look for something that is going to just make you feel that joy. And I think what I notice when we're in that space of having fun or laughing is the connection that you get. The shared connection of just being able to see the funny side to collectively, you know, if something happens, being able to just all have a chuckle about it. It just takes, it's literally like a pressure reliever.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I think we need to more actively, you know, I'm often reminding people if they're feeling a bit low, you know, go and find something that makes you laugh. I've got a couple of go-to videos that absolutely, it doesn't matter how many times I watch them, I literally am laughing my head off. Yeah. And I'm almost laughing before I've even turned them on because I know what they're going to do for me.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a gift.
Yeah.
And I think it's a gift that we sometimes forget to use because it's just there. We can have it. But it's the being so serious bit that I think we miss something.
Yeah. And I think, well, I've probably mentioned this a lot now on the podcast, but the humour cliff. So kids laugh about 300 times a day or something, and then when we get into our 20s, 30s, it drops to about 6 or 7 times a day. And one of our other guests, Jodie from Manifest, was saying that she had personal laughter as a personal KPI. So she'd be like, oh, how many times have I laughed today?
I love that.
And I was like, well, that's a really a good idea to do. But it is such a unifying thing, and obviously as a comedian, I see that, and I love that, especially now we're back in comedy clubs, not on Zoom, that shared experience. Yeah. It is, you come out feeling absolutely uplifted, don't you?
You just feel amazing. I mean, there's nothing better, is there, than that where you literally can't stop laughing. Yeah. And I love to watch people who are doing that. I was at something the other day, and it was in a restaurant, and there was 3 girls behind the counter, and they were absolutely wetting themselves, and I was loving just watching them, and whatever it was, I've no idea, but they were literally like, and it was infectious.
Yeah,
I felt good watching them, and I wasn't even involved.
Yeah.
So I think we just need to be able to tap into that much more than we really do. It's a resource.
Yeah.
And I think we need to see it as that.
Yeah. So what are your go-to videos? Are they comedians, or are they people falling over? That has been quite popular on the podcast.
Do you know, I've got 2 that were going round in lockdown, and one of them is a guy who is using things around him to keep himself fit, and he puts a bit of washing up liquid on the floor, and it's honestly it's absolutely hilarious. And my other one is it's a call in from to a BMW garage. It's in South African comedian does a call centre thing, and he talks about his BMW, and he talks about he only works night drive and day drive and night drive, and it doesn't go anywhere when it's in night drive, which obviously is neutral. But the girl that's answered the phone, she's so professional to start with, and then you can hear her, she's literally
losing.
Oh my god, it's just the funniest thing. And then he talks about the S, because it's obviously an automatic, and he talks about the R race. He says the race drive, and he says, but I hit the fella because he obviously goes behind. Honestly, you need to listen to it. I'll send you it. It's really, really funny.
Yeah, love that. So in your coaching then, obviously you work with a lot of business leaders, don't you? So do you try and instill some humour in them? Because I think you were saying that you help people be better managers, and obviously humour is a great tool for that if deployed correctly. So do you use that?
Yeah, I think just being lighter. I think when you look at leadership and you look at some of the sort of management workshops and tools out there, you know, they're all very serious again. They're all very like, do this, next do this. And actually, you know what? Take off all that pressure and let's have a bit of fun. You know, my workshops are very experiential, and we have laughter.
Yeah.
We have like light bulb moments where it's like, oh gosh, you know, don't take yourself so seriously. Be humorous. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm, you know, I'm not like yourself, Mary. I wouldn't call myself a comedian at all. But I think I can often spot things that just need to be just talked about and just raised. And often they are things that we can just be, do you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay for it to have been like that.
Yeah.
You know, using things that go wrong. You know, if you I don't know, your flip chart leg just suddenly drops off, you know, don't be mortified. Make fun of it.
Yeah.
Make you know, which is what I would do. You know, if I sometimes, like a lot of people, have a problem with a bit of tech, you know, and instead of being all flustered, just be humorous.
Yeah.
And just take that pressure, and almost for me it's about showing people how to do that. Just do it yourself in the moment.
Yeah. Well, there's such a belief that if you are in business or in the corporate world that you have to be a particular way, and I know I really fell into that mode as a young lawyer of being deadly serious, and people probably didn't really even know what my true personality was like at all. I always say, you know, my one woman show's actually going to be about my double life. It's going to be called Double Crossed, and that's the extent to which I'd put myself in this corporate box of, well, I can't make a joke because this is very serious law. But it's perhaps just showing people that no, you can be a human.
I think so. And I think just breaking down some of that rigid, you know, belief that and it's changed. I mean, you know, in leadership, I'm talking to a lot of businesses around how to lead the next generations, because they will not be led as we all were, where you did what you were told, you didn't question it, you were probably bullied a little bit, and you definitely didn't speak up. You just did it. They're not like that now.
No.
So I think we've got to think about how do we help that scenario, and I do think that less pressure and more light, if that is humour, but certainly more light approach to things, and a more human approach. You know, connecting with people on a level where there's some level of fun breaks that them and us.
Yeah. Well, there is, I think, a massive generational shift that no one's really probably got a grasp of yet, because I know I speak to a lot of people my age and older, like, oh, young people have got no resilience, we'll come in at 9 and work till 5 and that's it, that's my hours. I'm like, but is that wrong actually? Because I mean, I've always worked longer than I should have done. Maybe that's got me to where I am, but really, is it better to be saying, well, no, that's my hours and that's what I'm doing?
I think you raise a good point, and I think what I'm observing is, you know, so you're right. You know, nobody challenged anything. You just did what you were told, and you probably worked way too many hours. So we needed to change.
Yeah.
But I think we've possibly changed a little bit over here, where people are, you know, the word resilience is something that's been said a lot. And, you know, have they got resilience, or are they just more vocal about their needs? Are they just a bit better at saying, well, actually, I don't want to do that?
Yeah.
So we're interpreting that as they haven't got any resilience, but are they just making good choices? However, I do think there are some that are literally not getting it. They're not getting if you've got a job to do, you need to do it. Because I do listen to businesses who are quite concerned. How do they run their business? But how do they make sure that they look after their team? You know, they're trying to be a good employer. They're trying to be a good leader. They're not trying to put pressure. You know, when someone uses the word stress or mental health, they're panicking because they don't know how to sort of navigate it, because they're not used to having people who say, I can't do that because of my mental health.
Yeah.
So we needed to swing.
Yeah.
And I'm a big advocate for people looking after themselves and making sure that they speak up and blah, blah, blah. But I think we need to possibly just come here and help people be able to learn how to make that change, really, or make that commitment.
Yeah, it's just developing skills. I'm just reading a book about toxic resilience, which is very much that, well, we just soldier on, don't we? And I think that's definitely our generation.
Yeah, that's dead.
Even as a child, you're praised for being for quietening down if something's happened, for stopping crying, and that's not necessarily a good thing, because that's more about suppressing emotions that need to come out. So, as you say, I think we're at a pendulum. I think COVID took everyone to a certain point, didn't it? Because you had a lot of people working from home.
Yep.
And then that change of having to come back into the office, I think, has affected a lot of people. I don't know if you've seen that with some of the companies you've worked with.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, again, it's that what we're used to, you know, businesses never used to have people working from home, rarely. And if you'd ever asked, I mean, I did used to ask businesses before the pandemic, before we even knew that there was going to be a thing called the pandemic, you know, what's your thoughts on people being able to work from home sometimes? Oh no, couldn't possibly trust them.
They used to say to me, "Oh, you're working from home today." That was the thing, because I did used to work from home quite a lot. And you're like, "No, I am actually working. Probably do more than you."
Yeah, exactly. But the people are like, "Oh no, you can't trust them. You know, they'll be putting the washing out and they'll be doing this." So what if they're putting the washing out as long as they get the work done?
Yeah.
So obviously they didn't know how to manage that. And I think now there is a mixture of things that need sorting out. So, you know, being able to trust people, they know that most people can be trusted to go and do a good job because they want to do a good job. So that was the shock. I think for a lot of firms it was like, oh yeah, they do work really hard. Yeah. Because they want to do well in their job. They want to feel like they're succeeding. Yes, you'll have some people who don't, but you'll always have those. The sort of disengaged people, that they'll always be there.
They'd be just wandering around at the office if they were in the office.
Exactly. They were disengaged anyway. But I think we've got to navigate this new way of working. I still think there's businesses who are saying, oh, they're not in, so we can't work with them. Well, you're going to have to, because it's here to stay.
Yeah.
We won't go back to everybody being in unless you were in a sort of production type thing. We won't.
No.
You know, and there's advantages and then there's disadvantages. But it's interesting that you sometimes, I'm noticing with some firms, they've not wanted to put pressure on people coming back in, but actually the relatability with team members is missing.
Yeah.
So they are encouraging them, and I'm working with one firm at the moment, and they were all working from home, and they're all back in now, 2 days a week. They're all back in, and the connections between each member has started to change.
Yeah.
And I think there's something missing there, because it can be really lonely.
Yeah.
We are, at the end of the day, we're social beings, aren't we?
Yeah, especially for young people actually living on their own, might not even have a partner or whatever. So they're literally staring at their four walls all day, every day. Don't meet, you know, another human being unless they go out and get a coffee. I think that hybrid is probably the solution, because you do get that. I see it a lot, obviously, in construction with architects and offices like that, where people are listening and they can pipe in, or the younger people are actually learning from the conversations, and I think that's obviously what goes, isn't it, with
Definitely.
the home working.
Definitely, yeah. It's a mixture, I think.